Shopify.com.
What's the easiest choice you can make? Window instead of middle seat? Picking a vendor who sends a great gift basket? Outsourcing business tasks you hate? What about selling with Shopify? Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. From the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage. Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/try.
Following program are pre-recorded.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bach, along with Scott Skokos, North Dakota Resource Council Executive Director. And, all right, all things, of course, Summit Carbon Solutions proposed CO2 pipeline. You can go to beck.news, BEK. .news, and Lori Hintz has got a great tab in there. Thanks for coming in today, Scott.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Steve.
So I want your perspective, a little different take on some of the conversations we have with Lori. She's looking at things from a reporter's perspective, and you're looking at things from more of a boots on the ground. We've talked in the past about this being a very eclectic group that is standing up against the eminent domain, standing up for private property rights, standing up for public safety in the face of a very interesting group of a private development operation for profit coming from the private sector. So that's the differentiation. Where are things at right now? Because you've been working with a lot of different landowners, a lot of different political subdivisions, working on the public safety side, the landowner rights side of stuff, because there's a big affront going when you factor in the eminent domain or what's trying to be achieved from a common carrier status for Summit Carbon Solutions. There's a lot of balls in the air right now.
Yeah. I mean, the big thing that happened was on Monday, there was two different determinations made by the Public Service Commission. The first one was when they decided not to act or take on Burleigh County's petition to reconsider the decision to supersede the ordinances. So what that means is that Burleigh County is not going to necessarily get their day in court with the PSC, but Burleigh County could theoretically take it to court just like Emmons County did. And I'm not sure what you guys are going to do, but you can speak for your own body. But at this point, that's kind of where that's at. And I'm sure there's deliberations within the Burleigh County Commission on that.
Well, and we had a commission meeting last Monday after that, so we weighed that. We're holding off on. We've got some other recourse that we're pursuing, and because Emmons County is going the court route, we're going to hold off on that. We're taking a little bit different tack. So it's they're going from one direction. We're going to go from another direction to help the residents of Burleigh County and protect the residents of Burleigh County. That is our number one
which I'll say, like,
goal.
The landowners really appreciate both Burleigh and Emmons County stepping up in this fight and standing up for property rights and safety. That's the one thing that I can say.
That's your job as an elected official. You can't break down your job any more succinctly than that. That is your role as an elected official.
Exactly. So that's the one good thing about this whole situation is that we've seen that both Emmons and Burleigh County will come together around their citizens. We are not seeing that with our state government. The state government seems to think the citizens are just in the way. So the other thing that happened was they set the hearings. Right. So the hearings are now set. There's going to be, they said, between 4 and 6 hearings. The first hearing is scheduled for.
Well, and the reason for doing that is because the line keeps moving on the map.
Correct.
So now there's new landowners. Now, one of the concerns, and I know this was a talking point, was, okay, those that were affected and spoke out, whether it was from the landowner's perspective or the public safety perspective, they're already on the record. So how do you continue those that have concerns that are in this project, adjacent to this project, around this project, and encompass those that are now getting swallowed up into the project because the line moved.
Yeah, and I'll give the PSC some credit on that. They decided that they would have to put it in different locations. I know Summit wanted just one hearing in Bismarck, and that's it. Figure it out now. And so that's good that the PSC recognized that this is a public interest situation and they needed to do more than just one single hearing. And that is a recognition on their part of that. We'll see what happens at those hearings. I mean, April 22nd in Bismarck at the Baymont, or in Mandan at the Baymont. And that could go for the whole week. I would say April 22nd through April 26th. So you could just chalk that up as the whole week because you were there for the last one, Steve. It's like 12 hours a day.
Yeah. And I find it interesting, too, that they're going to be doing some hearings in Mandan because Morton County and Mandan have been awfully quiet in this process. To a certain degree, Bismarck had been quiet as well, and residents pressured them to get involved at least a little bit, or at least get it on their radar. So it is in the city commission record as going after, protecting their citizens.
And they sided with Burley County essentially, right, which is great.
But again, Morton and Mandan
have been silent. I mean, the only interaction I've had with Morton County around carbon capture, which I did not personally have, but I watched the hearings, was around the direct air capture facility that's being put out near like Glen Ullin, New Salem area.
That's another
totally different thing.
Entirely different animal.
Exactly. And they voted 4-2 to not. The P&Z voted 4-2 to not advance a conditional use permit. So that's about it. So we have no idea where they really stand on any of this stuff.
Yeah, tell you what, I want to come back and talk a little bit about that as well, because and where your role with the North Dakota Resource Council comes in for projects like that. Because what pops into my head is, tell you what, we'll come back to that. We'll talk about that when we come back from the break. We're talking with Scott Skokos, North Dakota Resource Council. You can go to beck.news and follow all things with Southern Carbon Solutions proposed CO2 pipeline. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk. Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bach along with Scott Skokos, North Dakota Resource Council. Don't forget Beck News, beck.news, all things Southern Carbon Solutions proposed CO2 pipeline. But with Scott in today for Lori Hintz, we've got an opportunity to go a little different direction. And you mentioned the air capture project that Morton County was looking at. Yep. And you got to remember, all of this is pushed through commerce by the governor's office. These are all little governor pet projects of tapping into our tax dollars, legacy fund, or whatever that money's coming from, and giving free money away to all these pet projects that want to come into North Dakota. I digress. That's a different discussion for a different day.
So the project
maybe
you're talking about, Steve, I believe, is the Retract LLC direct air capture facility.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to suck CO2 out of the air and then sequester that.
So here's what this one really looks like.
And by the way, when we get to 0.03% CO2 instead of 0.04% CO2, plants stop growing. But that different conversation again.
So this one is a direct air capture facility, and what those are, it's kind of like science fiction at this point. But
well, actually, there's a couple of them down in Texas.
Yeah.
Because if you research them, and there's a couple that are functioning and pulling CO2 out of the atmosphere,
and they're doing something.
And it's more of a. But there's a difference, because if you're powering up these turbines, where's the power for running the turbines coming from versus a passive system?
I've done some research into this.
Yeah, I know you have.
This thing requires a 40 megawatt generator, natural gas generator, to power the fans. The fans then suck in the air. The building for this thing is 6 acres, is what they're proposing.
It's huge, massive,
bigger than a Costco. Like 6-acre building in the middle of.
I wonder if Glen Ullin would rather have a Costco.
Probably. I mean, I
would.
So that like you're talking in the middle of nowhere, near a state park or a dam, that's got a recreation area with some camping. The company was founded by. I've done some research into the company, the CEO and others.
Comes out of Colorado,
out of Boulder, but it's some finance quote unquote finance bros from New York.
Yeah, not science guys, just basically a hedge fund.
Yeah, it's like two lawyers that have finance backgrounds that used to work in finance in New York City.
Which brings up the question is, where are all these projects coming from? Because it's the finance side, because it's tapping into the Q45 credit.
Exactly, and that was passed in the Inflation Reduction Act in 2022. And that literally upped the tax credit from $55 a ton for sequestration to $85, and then for a direct air capture, it's even more. I think it's in the hundreds.
When I talk about an elected group fighting Summit, and this is where this gets really interesting and a little whimsical. So you're liberal, I'm conservative, and
I believe in climate change,
yep,
and you don't.
And I don't. I don't believe in man-made climate change, and I believe climate change is weather. But getting into the politics side, this is where this gets, and I find this interesting, but this is where it gets whimsical, because, and I, being conservative, was the Donald Trump supporter who started the Q45 credits, and you, as more of a liberal, I'm going to assume a Joe Biden supporter who took it on steroids with the Inflation Reduction Act.
And I'm opposed to it.
Nobody's right. Like, folks, politically, you can't make this stuff up. This is where this gets really crazy.
I mean, I would say a lot of the liberals, a lot of the stuff on this, on energy transition, they've left us, the Democrats, in a lot of ways.
Well, and there can be arguments like that both parties,
have left,
especially in North Dakota,
the people.
They've left the people they're supposed to represent.
Exactly.
So that's just
and that's no offense to either party. I mean, that's just what happens occasionally.
But both parties should be fighting for the people. Anyway, that's the only political side of this I want to get into,
which is why we're working together.
Because I want to point this out. It's very, very interesting, because people are wrong on both sides, and people are right on both sides. So if there's some common ground, that's where it is. But coming back to the Q45 credits, the Inflation Reduction Act, which was some version of the Green New Deal, not about inflation really, but that's what facilitated all these different projects to come in. So now you're talking about a CO2 air capture facility. Now, if you're going to have powered turbines in a 6-acre facility, they make noise. And now I want to point to another project that was ushered in by the governor's office that falls along the same lines, and that's what's going on in Williams County right now, where that's going to court because you've got this company that came in and
well, I mean, the company's got all kinds of
the sketchy side behind the company.
The guy murdered a Binion is what people think, and et cetera.
And we can leave that side out of it. But now you're putting landowners and neighbors in a position where they're not living in a tenable space because of the noise pollution that is taking place. And by the way, on the backside, because one of the things, and I'm in politics, and I always look at the unintended consequences. Every decision that somebody makes at a commission table, what are the unintended consequences that somebody's going to have to deal with? If you're solving one problem or making one decision, are you creating 5 or 6 different problems that now you've got 5 or 6 different things you got to deal with? What's coming on the backside is take a look at what's going on with MDU. Now, we talked about North Dakota being a net exporter of energy. Now we're looking at situations where we're not anymore, and who's going to wind up paying for those higher utility rates? And we're seeing it with MDU requesting to raise rates because of that facility, and the Williams County folks are going to have to pay the bill to subsidize the electricity, the energy being used by that facility, that crypto mining facility up in Williams County.
And what I've heard is that facility uses the amount of power that the city of Fargo uses.
Yes.
Which is crazy. Because this
for whose benefit? Not the residents of the city of Fargo or the residents of the city of...
I believe the guy is Rick Tavish, who has a criminal record that the governor brought into North Dakota, and he's going to make money off this, and it's going to raise our rates.
And
for
it's
going
to be a cost to the residents of North Dakota.
In my opinion, it's almost criminal what that kind of economic development. In my opinion,
well, I don't see that as economic development. That's for private profit.
Yeah, it's literally building a giant power plant thing that sucks power and then making us pay higher rates for it. I don't know what public benefit that is.
There isn't a public benefit.
What does Bitcoin do? I mean, what do people use Bitcoin for? Shady transactions.
Yeah. But it was running under the guise of economic development.
Exactly.
Facilitated by the Commerce Department, facilitated or at the direction of the governor's office.
Exactly.
And all these private
Summit's the same thing.
Projects that the taxpayers are winding up paying for them or having to eventually clean up the mess from all these.
Well, and what I think is the most ridiculous about
it's just a cash grab
about Bitcoin mining is people have seen the consequences of Bitcoin mining already in New York State. New York State had to kick out all the Bitcoin mines because what they did was exactly what happened with this Bitcoin mine up in Williams County. They came in, took all the power, and then everyone's rates got raised at the utilities. And then everyone got pissed off, and then they sent them packing.
They took the power, they took the profits,
and then they left.
And the taxpayers were left holding the bag. Which, when a state like New York, which is
progressive,
very blue, goes, wait a minute, this is wrong, and this isn't working for us, what does that tell you? So now, bring that over to a state that's a little more red like North Dakota, and learn the lesson.
It just happened in New York.
Learn the lesson. I mean, seriously.
And we've got another Bitcoin mine going in the pyramid in Tacoma.
Yeah, in Tacoma.
Nokomis. Yeah. And then there's another one also up in Grand Forks, like just next to Grand Forks, that's supposedly using the entire power of the city of Grand Forks equivalent. And Minn Kota's bragging about it as a great user. And it's like, no, I guess you guys are making money, Minn Kota, but like, who else?
And at the end of the day, who's winding up holding the bag?
Be the ratepayers.
It's the ratepayers, the taxpayers, and the residents of North Dakota that are going to wind up having to bear the brunt of the unintended consequences of all these nothing more than financial projects coming in so somebody can take money out of North Dakota. This is Talking to Town. We're talking with Scott Skokos, North Dakota Resource Council. Don't forget that you can go to beck.news, find all things Summit Carbon Solutions. Lori Hintz does a great job of that reporting as well on Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town, Bakken, weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app. Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, I'm Steve Bakken along with Scott Skokos, North Dakota Resource Council, and we're talking about some different projects that were facilitated by the Q45 credits, the Inflation Reduction Act, so politically, whichever side of that you're on, because one started with Trump, one started with Biden, or got taken to another level with Biden. And we're talking about different projects that have been facilitated by this money. One that was a little different animal, and there was some attachment to that as well. By the way, you can go to beck.news for all things Summit Carbon Solutions proposed CO2 pipeline, but we're taking a look at the bigger picture right now of some of these predatory practices that have been facilitated, and I'll throw it out there, by the governor's policies and Governor Doug Burgum's economic thought process, because again, I look at economic development as how do you bring institutional money into North Dakota and keep it here for the benefit of the residents of North Dakota, where the governor tends to look at economic development as how do you facilitate money leaving the state. Come in and, North Dakota is a net exporter of a lot of things, and the financial wherewithal that we've accumulated in North Dakota should not be one of them. But one of the other projects we didn't talk about yet, and it was just in the news recently again because of what the company's trying to do in other places, Fufeng.
Yep.
So Fufeng up in Grand Forks, and it took the Air Force to step in and go, this is not good because this Chinese company has the ability to spy on the Grand Forks Air Force Base and what's going on at UND with the different drone programs.
Exactly.
Because people leave out the drone side of stuff of what goes on up at UND with some of these defense contractors. But Fufeng's in the news again because now they're trying to do this in Indiana.
Oh, they are?
Yeah. They're trying to do another facility in Indiana that's, ironically, right down the road from another military installation. So the bad economic policies of grab whatever you can as fast as you can for who really raises a lot of questions because it opens up the citizens, the population, private landowners, the public safety aspect. You put a lot of different people at risk for a lot of wrong reasons.
And Fufeng is very similar to the coalition on Fufeng was very similar to the coalition on Summit. It's both liberals and conservatives. And a lot of my members and leaders, some former board members of Dakota Resource Council were in that fight up in Grand Forks. That was a fascinating one. Those folks got literally dismissed by their leadership. I mean, Lori Hintz and company covered that really well at PAC. Just like laughed out of the room. And what turns out is that the county commissioners and the city council folks were just rubes that were working for the Chinese government without knowing it.
It was all about the money. They were just following the money.
Yeah, and it shows the greed in this state, and also just the fact that like any economic development will be accepted.
But we need to be more discerning when it comes to the economic development side. It's that you need to vet a project. Coming back to Summit Carbon Solutions, we don't know who the whole ownership group is.
No, we don't.
We know there is some foreign investment. And it's long-standing been kind of assumed that there's Chinese investment involved with that.
There's definitely Chinese money through TPG Rise has Chinese money, but I mean that's just an index fund at the same time, but it's still Chinese money.
Yeah, there's Chinese money involved. So what percentage of ownership?
And it's hard to say.
You can't break that out, and that's something that the company has not been forthwith.
And they won't and we've asked for that information. They won't give it to us. I mean, etc. I even believe I think the PSCs even asked for it at times. I'm not sure. I could be wrong on that, but I mean, yeah, they're not forthright with the information about who their investors are or who's really behind the scenes pulling the strings. I mean, we can look up their board, but I mean, we don't really know. I mean, Bruce Radstatter is doing a lot of the pulling the strings, and Bruce Radstatter is an international operator who's got ethanol plants all over the world. So it's not like this guy's just some guy from Iowa.
Well, and now you're talking about the different levels because, this is the ultimate onion. There's so many different layers to this. And when you're looking at the financing involved and who's running these operations, bottom line, at the end of the day, it all comes back to the money. And whether politically or not you believe in the climate change side of stuff, or whether or not CO2 is the issue. I'll say there's some legitimate concerns about greenhouse gases. I'm more concerned about methane as a greenhouse gas rather than CO2. CO2, we need that. It's carbon.
So Dakota Resource Council, we just ended up getting some legislation passed, or not legislation, a rulemaking passed around methane, around oil and gas, which is opposed by our congressional delegation. But what that does is reduce the amount of flaring and venting that can happen in the oil fields.
Well, and I got involved on the methane side of things because I was starting to look at, as former Mayor Bismarck, more of a land use and
for like the landfill or something.
Yeah, if you take a look globally, number 2, depending on which study you look at, 2 or 3. But I go by the number 2 producer of greenhouse gases in the form of methane, landfills.
No, exactly.
Death, taxes, and garbage. Those are the 3 you're not getting rid of them.
I believe Grand Forks or Fargo has a digester for their landfill.
Well, yeah, but now you got to look at the economics. And I was going down the road of a gasifier versus a garbage burner, because garbage burners financially don't pencil out, and you're not really cleaning up a lot of things. You're just reducing. Where a gasifier for me was, okay, we're producing energy, we're getting rid of these nasty things because you can get rid of everything but nuclear with the process, and there was financial benefit. So I was going down that road, but I was also looking at landfills in general. I mean, just in the Bismarck community, you take a look at where we've got landfills. I mean, I know Century High School at some
point a landfill
needs to expand, and they can't because what's out their back door? That parking lot, which heaves all the time, is a landfill. So the ability to reclimate a landfill through the process, to me, was the part I was really kind of keying in on. Getting rid of the landfill, because Bismarck's growth is to the east. We've got a landfill
east
in the
and
way.
North, yeah.
Fargo's a great example. Their landfill's in the middle of town. And
they grew around it. Yeah, exactly.
And Fargo needs that land. So I was looking at the land as an economic development piece, but there's better solutions out there. And people kind of like the ethanol and tied in with corn. And why corn when probably switchgrass was the better solution?
Yeah, there's all kinds of things you can make.
But politics got involved and the money got involved. And, okay, now you're looking at the CO2 and it's the money and the politics involved because is it really a solution? And people are starting to wake up a little bit about, okay, is that the road we should be going down?
Yeah, on the ethanol road forever, I don't know if that's going to be the right road to go down. I mean, ethanol is one of the most subsidized industries there is. I mean, some of my members grow corn for ethanol. I'm not necessarily against ethanol, but we need to really take a look at ethanol in some ways because there's some issues with it, especially if we're going to be doing projects like this to support the ethanol industry with Summit and taking land and everything so that ethanol can keep going. I mean, there's other things we can do with corn than produce only ethanol. I mean, there's other things they can do. I mean,
and I have been a big proponent for a long time of corn-based plastics. I mean, if you talk from an agricultural perspective and growing corn for industrial uses, it's the plastic side because, take a look at John Deere and they figured it out. 17 to 23% of a tractor or a combine is corn-based plastics, the starch corn-based plastics. I mean, from a marketing perspective, we're helping you grow the product. We need to build the product that you need to grow the product. It's like,
and there's a cellulosic fiber institute in Fargo that's studying how to build plastics for plastic polymers for vehicles.
Yeah.
Out of NDSU, I believe.
So there's a lot of different avenues out there that may make more sense if you take the politics out and take the money out because that's what people are chasing.
Because 45Q, the only reason they're doing these carbon captures is they're chasing the 45Q. There's no other financial incentive for it.
And at the end of the day, who pays for it?
We do.
We do, the taxpayers. We're talking with Scott Skokos, North Dakota Resource Council. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk. Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bachman with Scott Skokos, North Dakota Resource Council. Of course, Summit Carbon Solutions proposed CO2 pipeline. We'll get back to that here, but we're looking at the economics and the politics to a certain degree behind all these different projects that keep popping up. And at the end of the day, when we're coming back to Summit, it really comes back to the money, and it comes back to who thought it was a good idea for North Dakota to take everybody else's garbage, because we've got one ethanol plant that is on board in North Dakota with the Summit project. Red Trail Energy, they sequester their own. I mean, they're
and their pipeline's small. My friend is the one doing carbon capture for them. And I'm opposing all these carbon capture things. But if you look at Red Trail's model, their pipeline doesn't run even more than a mile. And it's on one landowner's land, and they got permission for it.
And it's for their benefit.
Yeah.
And so they're not part of this. Marathon Petroleum is looking at
they just switched to ferther, I believe.
Yes.
The governor just gave them through the Clean Sustainable Energy Authority, I think, gave them money.
Their plant that is out southwest of
which
Dickinson,
I think is doing vegetable oil now.
Yeah.
They're proposing to put a carbon capture pipeline in to cash in on those credits, because I've heard from some landowners that they're being approached for easements.
Now, but they're looking at doing something, if not locally, very small, regionally.
So they're I think they're going to sequester carbon down in Leffer.
Okay.
Somewhere.
But again, it chasing dollars.
Chasing dollars. This could be an eminent domain situation, theoretically. So that's where...
Well, hopefully Marathon's been in North Dakota long enough,
where
they doing business long enough, they understand that you don't infringe on landowner rights in North Dakota.
And I think it's a small enough route where hopefully if there's landowners with disagreements, they can move the pipeline to landowners that will agree with it.
Yeah, well, and that was one of my contentions with Summit up front was you don't do business like that in North Dakota. You don't lie. You need to be fully transparent. You don't lie to landowners. And because a lot of those easements, I've talked to people that are like, if we would have known what really was coming, we would not have signed up for this. So I think there's a certain degree of coercion that took place with the business practices of Summit Carbon Solutions.
Yeah, no, totally. And the difference between them and like a Marathon or a Red Trail is Marathon and Red Trail want to stay here long term. Summit's most likely going to build this pipeline if they get the right to build it. Cash out the door. And sell it to somebody else. And I'm going to say they're going to sell it to the oil industry, or Harold Hamm will own it. after this is all said and done, after 12 years of tax credits being collected.
Yeah, because that's the other thing, too. Summit is selling this project as no EOR, no enhanced oil recovery whatsoever, not part of this project. And then in the state, you're hearing this is for EOR.
Oh,
and then
Jimmy Powell recently just did a reverse course on his statements. The CEO or the CFO of Summit, or Chief Operating Officer of Summit, he said, "Well, if they want to do EOR too, that would be something we consider." So they went from saying no EOR to now they're welcoming EOR.
Well, and the difference is, and this is the part a lot of people didn't understand, was because a lot of people are like, hey, it's good for North Dakota oil and North Dakota oil industry. Sure, why not? Let's get this done.
And part of it is just...
But the amount of money you get for the credit, you get more money for the sequestration. You get less money on the
EOR.
The EOR.
So the reason Summit's saying that, the reason Summit is not being honest about that is because in Iowa, they don't want to say that, right? Because no one from Iowa wants to hear that they're using this for the oil industry up in North Dakota.
Right.
And so they're essentially, what Summit's done over the last couple of years is they just say what's convenient for them in the moment, in the location where it's convenient.
Fit the local narrative and whatever at all costs to try to get it through.
Say anything to get it done. Even if it's not necessarily 100% true. And that's what Summit's been doing. And that's why my organization and all these landowners and all these public officials, we don't trust Summit. There's no reason to. Versus other, like I said, they're going to leave the state. So, this is just another Doug Burgum's schemes of
come in the middle of the night, cash out, and walk away with your profits, and whatever's left, then the local residents are left holding the bag, and whatever those unintended consequences.
Think of it this way:
increased energy costs, increase.
Yep. Well, because the other thing too is once that pipeline's in place, it's just like a railroad. Like the pipeline's there. If Summit doesn't use it, someone else is going to use it. So it's going to be if this thing gets built, then we've built the railroad, and now North Dakota is going to be a site for this stuff. 100%.
They killed the Keystone. Maybe we can reverse the pipeline, never run CO2 through it, and actually use it for getting North Dakota oil out of North Dakota. I might be okay with.
I probably wouldn't be okay with that, but I mean, I know you would. So,
but again, this comes back to, and I've said this for a long time, and I've said this on the air, is if Farm Bureau and Farmers Union are on the same page in North Dakota for an issue, look awfully hard. Or run like hell.
And when Steve Bakken and Scott Skogas are on the same...
Yeah. It's like, okay, what's wrong with the project?
But I appreciate this because this is a way that we can But
this is how we have conversations and come up with solutions. And for the betterment of everyone.
And we can be practical.
Yeah, practical. I call myself a practical conservative. I'm extremely conservative, but I have to function in today's landscape, and there's a practical side of that. And the ideology, which means I don't always get my way, nor should I.
Which is why we both don't always live in ideology. Right. If you live in ideology, you just fight with each other.
You're just going to fight, and then when you're fighting all the time, you don't come up with solutions.
Exactly.
You mentioned Iowa, South Dakota. We've been following what's going on down there. Any new conversations from the political landscape in Iowa or South Dakota? Because they have a lot of bearing on this.
So South Dakota, I know that they're going to be referring that law that they just passed, I think it was a week and a half ago or something.
And those people's got those signatures in a hurry.
They've got 200 people gathering signatures.
Yeah.
Because
that's the process in South Dakota. You can refer a bad piece of legislation. Well, I believe you have 90 days to collect the signatures, and you can go, yeah, we don't like that, and you're not representing us, and that's what's taking place.
Yep. And there seems to be an organized effort out there, and we're hoping they can get the signatures and refer it to the ballot. If they do, then that would be huge, because then the people in South Dakota could give a thumbs up or thumbs down on stuff like this. So
yeah, put it to the people. Let them decide.
And the law that was passed there essentially made it so that CO2 pipelines have more rights than the people of South Dakota, just like in North Dakota.
Well, they're mirroring that bill.
Common carrier.
Yeah, they're mirroring what the Public Service Commission has the ability to do in North Dakota, because their Public Utilities Commission in South Dakota didn't have that. It was always about the landowner rights, and they're circumventing that in South Dakota.
So one thing that's crazy about North Dakota that I don't think anyone really realizes in this state, and you know this, Steve, but CO2 pipelines have more rights than anybody in this state in a lot of ways around private property rights. because they're considered a common carrier by the legislature, they get eminent domain rights by right. They don't have to prove anything. They're already in the list of things that get eminent domain. So like CO2 pipelines have more rights than a water line than theoretically the same rights as a water line, but they have more rights than most people. When it comes to property rights, and we could blame our politicians for that. That may have been not the intention, but they did that.
Going back to the politics a little bit, I mentioned the Farmers Union and Farm Bureau, and it's rather ironic. In North Dakota, the Farmers Union is quiet, and Farm Bureau is standing up for property and private landowner rights. And in South Dakota, it's the opposite. It's the other way around. Farm Bureau is being quiet, and Farmers Union is beating the drum for private property rights in South Dakota. So, again, you cannot make any of this up. It is the strangest thing ever, but you know what? I'm glad you and I can have this conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Scott Skokos, North Dakota Resource Council. I'm Steve Bach, and this is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town, weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
KLXX AM, Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union studio.
NBA action with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Hear the games live on Super Talk 1270.
Portions of the following program are pre-recorded.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bakken, along with Scott Skokos, North Dakota Resource Council. And I kind of had to hold you over the top of the hour because I wanted to talk a little bit about the hearings. So going back to the Public Service Commission and their determination last week, a week ago today, they came out with, no, they're not going to consider the reconsideration from Burleigh County. And then they set up a bunch of hearings. And you mentioned...
first hearing started on April 22nd.
Mandan's one of them. So that's where they start. Did they give a determination of how many hearings they're going to have? Because now Summit wanted just one hearing.
In Bismarck, Mandan.
In Bismarck and Mandan. Boom, done, and let's get on with this. The Public Service Commission, to their credit, they're like, no, there's too many other people that are affected with this. We want to come back and we want to have multiple hearings in multiple locations because multiple parties need to be heard.
Yep. And so they're going to have another hearing, I believe, in the Wapaton area. And then they're going to have one in McIntosh County.
Well, because the other county that's really stepping up.
Or not McIntosh, it's Emmons County.
Emmons County.
And then Richland County is also stepping up.
Right, so you've got Richland County that's part of this, and we don't talk about Richland County very much, but Richland County is part of this because I believe that Minnesota line has some effect on their landowners, which, that's that small little 8-inch. And we talk a lot about us in Emmons County, Burleigh County, because we're the end of the line. Well, they say 24 now.
It could be bigger.
But with the ethanol plants that they keep adding on from Nebraska and Iowa and South Dakota.
Because they just got Poet and Valero.
Yeah, and I mean, they're starting to close in on 60 plants, and I'm looking at the capacity of what they're selling as, hey, we can take all your garbage, and is that going to be a 60-inch line by the time they're done, an 80-inch line?
I mean, theoretically,
are the pressures going to be increased to move more of that CO2?
Yeah,
I don't know. We're at the end of the line, so we're going to have the biggest line.
And this is my fear with all this, and not this is not related to the hearings, but my fear with all of this is that if they get this big trunk line in, then every industrial project is going to try to trunk into it.
Yeah.
They're like, we're going to see Marathon, instead of going to a sequestration in Dickinson area, they might send it to this pipeline. So we could have a web of these things all over the state, which is truly horrifying from a public safety standpoint. Without the rulemakings from PHMSA being done yet or anything like that.
Well, and that's the other side of this. So, okay, we've got multiple sites from Public Service Commission having hearings because now there's a lot of different landowners that maybe didn't know that they were part of this, that that word needs to get out there.
At the same time, doesn't this feel like Groundhog's Day? I feel like I'm Bill Murray waking up in the same bed and breakfast again.
But you bring up PHMSA, and I want to go to the touch on the PHMSA really quick, because a lot of people have advocated, it's like, well, let's just stop for a minute, pause, wait for PHMSA's rules, and then we can start navigating from what those PHMSA regulations look like. And I kind of buy into that, because from the public safety side of things, there's a lot of resources and a lot of logistics involved, because there's no way to distribute resources, especially when you're looking at rural fire and volunteer services, and there's no way to put enough resources around from a public safety perspective. So you're going to have to be really good at logistics and response times and how you distribute those resources, and we don't know. I mean, I'm really hanging a lot on what PHMSA says is, okay, these are the new protocols.
Yeah,
because there's a safety concern
totally,
here.
Because we saw what happened to Tarsha. And then at the same time, like, the projects that we're seeing right now, like the one that we're talking about with Summit and the other ones in the Midwest, they're giant. This is not the same as the DGC line that goes to Canada. That's a small line.
Right.
It's not the same thing. That thing goes along. It does go through property. It does. But it's not near homes. It's not like the situation in Bismarck or the situation.
Yeah, there's setbacks.
That
legitimate setbacks from any populated area or populated,
because we've looked at
residences.
We've looked into this, and like I've seen the filings on that one, and it's a totally different animal. I mean, yeah, that one's been operating, but I would argue that the reason that thing hasn't had an issue is we've been really lucky.
Yeah,
I'll just say that, like, pipelines break. That's just what happens.
Now, the difference is with an oil or a gas pipeline, it breaks, it breaks, you mitigate the spill and repair it and move on. This is different.
Yep.
This is very different.
We're talking of an asphyxiant.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes out of that pipeline, it suffocates everything.
Yeah. The mitigation to this isn't just, hey, we're reclamating some soil, or
you got to get people away from the plume, and they won't even let us see the plume model.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the plume modeling exists because it's expensive and it's time consuming, and there's so many variables involved.
We'll be arguing about it during the hearings, I'm sure.
And then show it to me.
Yeah.
Show it to me. That's the other side of this is this company's not doing business like North Dakota should be doing business. So there's no transparency. There's no being upfront. There's no being forthright. It's just a shady way of doing business, and they're not spending the diligence and in time and money up front for the diligence that should be required for this. So I don't think it exists. They haven't indicated that they're doing business any way above board that would indicate that, we did the plume modeling.
Exactly.
I don't think they did.
No, I don't. We'll have to see if they actually have a plume model. I would say, and the last thing I wanted to kind of get at today was for the hearings. If you're a landowner, Steve, myself and Dustin Carvalho and some others are going to do some trainings / informational meetings ahead of these hearings. So if folks want to check out our Facebook page, probably check out Watchdog Network. You can go to www.drcinfo.org and check out stuff on our website as we post it.
What's the social media? Because a lot of people just go to social media.
It's just Dakota Resource Council on social media, so you can check us out on Facebook, Instagram,
and then Dustin does a lot of stuff on his Substack as well.
Yep.
So with Dustin Goverlow, you can find him on the Substack.
And so just look for events on Facebook or other social media platforms, or look at Dustin's Substack, and we'll probably have some stuff posted out there. We'll probably do another meeting in the Bismarck Library or something like that.
Covered a lot this morning. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
All right, Scott Skokos, North Dakota Resource Council. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk.
This podcast is sponsored by Cloud Optimizer.
As we migrated more of our business to the cloud, we were seeing expenses go up, but we couldn't pinpoint the cause. It seemed less of a cloud, more of a fog. That's why we brought on Cloud Optimizer, and they saved the day.
Are you seeing your cloud hosting bills go up and you're not sure why? It's time to put Cloud Optimizer to work for you. Cloud Optimizer analyzes usage patterns, right-sizes resources, leverages discounts you may not be aware of, implements automation, and much more. And by reducing unnecessary expenses and maximizing performance, Cloud Optimizer guarantees you a savings of 5 times what you spend for their service.
With Cloud Optimizer, we have our spend under control. Our company is more agile, profitable, and we're getting peak performance from our cloud.
Make the cloud work for you with Cloud Optimizer. Get a free assessment and find out how much you can save by going to cloudoptimizer.com. Go to cloudoptimizer.com for your free assessment. That's cloudoptimizer.com.
Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, you're tuned to Talk of the Town. I'm Steve Bakken along with Brad Ock from Runnings, the general manager, and I'm very disappointed, Brad. You got called out of town for work again, so we're talking to you on the fly, which means no Jerky Monday. I mean, come on, Brad, you're killing me, bud.
I know, but like there's all that candy and stuff in the ad, so we know after you're done you can run over and get something.
You know, I was really happy I did not see in the ad. Peeps.
See what?
I was very happy I did not see Peeps in the ad.
Oh, yeah.
We're over the Peeps. Although,
no Easter candy.
Now if you got a bunch of leftover Peeps, now we got to figure out their demise. That's the fun part.
Oh, Peeps making a comeback.
Just throwing that out there. Let's destroy the Peeps.
Oh, gosh.
But a lot of other stuff in the ad. So we'll get back to Beef Jerky Monday next week. So I'm looking forward to that. But a lot of great stuff in this ad. This ad is absolutely packed.
Yeah, you know, right on one of the big call-outs I want to say on this ad is that Husqvarna rider is $300 off on the front cover. That is actually one of the grand opening specials out here. It's that Husqvarna plus a $100 gift card. So it doesn't say that in our ad in Bismarck, but when I come back, you know, like if you want to come in tomorrow or Wednesday, and we have that, I will still do like I did last time 2 weeks ago. I will do the grand opening deals in the store, and I have that ad with me again. So I'll be ready to take control and give some more discounts if you come in and find me tomorrow or Wednesday.
You know, your boss is going to stop inviting you to all these new openings as you're rolling over those stores that Runnings had acquired, that family chain that rolled into the Runnings family and rebranding as Runnings. Your boss is going to stop bringing you to all these events because you're just bringing back the sales for everybody that lives here.
We spend all this time helping these stores. I mean, Runnings is awesome. They send us everywhere. When a new store opens, every store sends 1, 2, 3, 4 people sometimes.
All hands on deck.
Stores set up. And I've never been able to go back and be part of a grand opening. So over the last 4 years, I've probably done maybe 10 new store setups, and I've never got to go do a grand opening. And this time, for some of us who've been out there 3 or 4 times, they extended the opportunity to come out and help with grand opening.
Nice.
So that was really cool. So that's why I'm gone. It was a fun experience. It was a great weekend. Again, now this time I'm in Morris, Illinois, and all of a sudden behind me I heard Bismarck, North Dakota, and I kind of turn around and some guy's like, "You're the manager at Bismarck?" Like I am. Goes, "Oh man, I went hunting out there last year. I stopped into your store. That is such a good store." And then he goes, "We went down to New England, just south of New England over there by Dickinson. Do you know where that is?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do know where Dickinson is." He goes, "Oh, we go hunting down there. We did some pheasant hunting." And he's like, "Oh, I just love the Bismarck store. I think we're going to go back next year, and I'm going to go to you before I go to Dickinson." I was like, "That's what I like to hear."
Well, yeah, no kidding, because we're the cool store.
Yeah, but it's amazing how many of these customers already know the Runnings name because they go there fishing, hunting, and they already knew what Runnings was. So they're coming in and they're really excited, and they're just happy to see a Runnings out here. And it's just I was amazed to talk to another 3 or 4 people who go to North Dakota for fishing and hunting.
Well, a lot of people come to North Dakota. I talk to people all over the country that come here for hunting and fishing opportunities because there's no place like North Dakota. Just absolutely no place like North Dakota. I'll give some of South Dakota a little bit of love as well. So, but no, there is no place that people congregate just for outdoor activities. This is the spot. And now that familiarity that they have a little bit from runnings, from coming here, going back to now their store down the street is a Runnings. That's got to make a lot of people really happy.
Yeah, where we were, people were traveling from 25, 30 minutes away just to come down 25, 30 miles just to come over to the grand opening and check it out because they recognize the name and they want to see what's going on. So it's really cool. It's fun to see that. And I'm always going to say I like the people who say they stop into the Bismarck store and how much they love it. And I'm always down for a compliment.
Okay, so besides the Husqvarna, which is one heck of a deal, $19.99 for that 42-inch, 19-horsepower riding lawnmower, what else are you bringing back from the grand opening sale?
So here's what's interesting. So looking through the ad that kicked off yesterday so the ad officially kicks off on Sundays. We actually kick our ad off on Friday or Thursday of last week. It just depends, when people, they get it in the finder on Wednesdays. So as soon as we get a couple of customers who have the ad, we just activate it and move forward with it. So if you have an ad and you're waiting till Sunday for this ad to start, we don't care. Just come in and say you have the ad, and then we're going to do the price discount, and then we're going to activate our ad, and we're going to put the signs up. So, but this ad, those cheese balls, the big tub of cheese balls for $6.49. That was also a grand opening special that they had going on back there. And then
who doesn't love those? Oh my god!
In this ad,
my wife
somewhere I saw
loves the peanut butter filled pretzels. Those things are amazing.
Yes, and that was in the grand opening ad. The $3 off the peanuts and the little chocolate stuff for my leans. That was in the grand opening ad. So it was really cool to see this ad come out, supporting a lot of what the grand opening was.
Well, and the chocolate-covered snack mixes, all kinds of good stuff. Okay, so I have to ask, what's the super secret, may not be in this ad, but it was part of the grand opening that if somebody asks about, you're going to tell them and they're going to get a heck of a deal? Because there's always
there's actually
something.
2. There is a DeWalt. Let me pull my ad and change it. There is a DeWalt. Oh, man, where is it at? Right here. A 100-piece Flex Torque Impact driver set from DeWalt. It's normally, I believe, $47.99, and during the grand opening, it's $14.99. There's a limit of one per customer, and I got one last time I was out here, because I was like, I think it's the number 2 bit. That's the one you always break and always let it down, and you strip it out, and then you have to go buy another one, and your kit's not completed. This one comes with like a box of them.
That's nice.
So there's not just one. There's a little box. I would say this is probably the best deal at $14.99.
And this isn't in the flyer. This is not in our flyer. This was a grand opening deal that you just happen to be sneaking back home.
Yep. And then there's a 40-pound bag of grilling pellets for $7.99.
Whoa.
If you have a pellet grill, come in. I know we have 2 pallets of that. And then the last, but certainly not least, is the Miracle Grow 2 cubic foot potting mix. Out there is 2 for $9.98 right now.
Wow.
At the grand opening.
And as we're getting into gardening season and planting season and got to get the flower pots and everything up and running, that's a great deal. That is an absolutely great deal.
Yeah, I only had 2 people come take advantage of this ad.
Really?
A couple weeks ago. Yeah, someone else came and talked to me about it, but they didn't want anything out of it. They just wanted to see the grand opening ad.
So the snow that we've had this last weekend, and then has got people out of the planting mode or spring mode? I don't know. You know what? There's still an opportunity to go get in a great deal on snowblowers, too, right now. Just throwing that out there.
Absolutely. You know what? We sold a few last week. There were some people really anticipating getting ahead of the ball game. But, in the back of our minds, I know as a retail store, we are in spring transition and we are spring. But there's still all of April left.
And May.
This can happen and hit us hard in April.
I hate to say it, May, too. You know, there's only one.
I remember, what year was it? It was the early 2000s. We had that snow in June.
Yeah, there's only one month we haven't had snow in North Dakota. Only one.
Yep, and I remember it hit because my wife at the time wanted to go hiking in the Badlands, and I had finally said yes. And we woke up the next morning, and it was snowing.
And you did a little happy dance without her seeing it going, yes, I got out hiking.
I was like, oh, no. She's like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, we're sorry, honey. I'm so sorry. We just can't go now. It's
way too muddy.
We're getting into spring mode. More on the spring flyer when we come back. We're talking with Brad Ock of Runnings, general manager at the Cool Store, 701 South Washington in Bismarck. Not that all the Runnings aren't cool, but we've got the coolest one because we got the coolest crew and the coolest general manager and all that good stuff. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
To Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270, we're talking to Brad Ogg, general manager over at Runnings, and no jerky Monday today because he's not here. He's sitting in an airport this morning, waiting to come back from grand opening in Illinois as Runnings acquired that other group of family stores to add to the Runnings family. We are getting into spring, and by the way, you're going to owe me some huge on jerky when you get back. So the other thing, we're getting into spring, and looking outside doesn't really look like it a whole lot, but we are getting into spring, and that means spring planting when it comes to your lawn, because the yard has to look good. You mentioned the potting soil deal. We've also got the grass seed. One thing with this winter that, and I know this because I've got dogs, is the lawn patch. So when there's no snow for most of the winter, you wind up with a few more spots you're going to have to patch because of the dogs all winter long. And you've got dog patch on sale as well as regular dog grass seed, because now's a good time to start thinking about overseeding as well as you thatch your lawn or power rake it or aerate it. Great time to overseed.
Yeah, we're starting to gear up for that. So if whatever your plans are, if this was something you were thinking about last year, like me, I was thinking about it the last 3 years and I've yet to do it. It's a good time to start thinking about weed and feed and what your fertilizer plan is. And then what are you going to go into? Like, if you just have patchwork you're going to do, you can do the dog patch. We got a couple other grass patch options, but the dog patch is on sale. Specifically, there's a lot of dead spots out there from pets. But then putting some straw or some mulch over the top just to protect it a little bit as you keep it wet. Keep it growing, keep your pets off of it while it's growing. But it's a good time to start making a plan, and that goes for your flower beds too. I know every year my wife expands our flower bed a little bit. So if you need more landscape fabric or looking for a couple tools to help out, like this is, you got to start planning it. You got to think a little bit ahead of the ball game here, and it's a good time. Some of the stuff's on sale now, so you got to come in and check it out.
We talked about the riding lawnmower, the 42-inch that's on sale for $19.99 from Husqvarna. Some other Husqvarna mowers on sale as well, the garden tractor side. And I don't know if people think about utilizing them as the garden tractor side as much, because you've got the 54-inch rider that's on sale. You've got the zero-turn Husqvarna that's on sale. But you also have the accessories from AgriFab, which is, everybody knows in the ag world, AgriFab, big name out there. It's the tow-behind items. So you can use that garden tractor for the thatcher, or if you want a really nice lawn, that lawn roller. And people don't think about rolling their lawn out, but that really goes a long way for leveling. If you're trying to play bags out in the backyard and you got bumps and rolls and it's kind of hard to play, those lawn rollers, they really do work for leveling out a lawn. Then the lawn sweeper, picking up all that mulch. So the tow behind attachments, you've got a great line from AgriFab, great relationship with Runnings.
Yeah, and one of the things that surprises me every year is how many lawn sweepers go out the door. Every year, as people see neighbors using one, like, oh man, like if some of the yards are pretty small, but, you got some out there that are half acre, 1 acre, 1.5, and you're looking at raking leaves, and that's a daunting task. But that lawn sweeper, my goodness gracious, we sell so many of those every year. So if you've ever thought about getting one, they're on sale right now. This is a good time to put that thought to reality and just just go get it.
Well, and a lot of people think about raking leaves in the fall, but I mean, I wind up raking every spring. It's not just to dethatch the lawn a little bit, but usually it gets cold and there's still leaves on the trees, and then the leaves fall, and then it's snowing, so you can't rake the leaves then, so you wind up with a layer of leaves down in the spring, and you got to get those up. And that lawn sweeper, quickest, easiest way I have ever found to get those leaves up, because the wet ones don't like coming up very well.
Yeah, we use it a little bit on the east side of our lot. We have a fence over there. We get a lot of napkins and paper and some trash items that blow in. And it works pretty good for some of that smaller stuff. We obviously have to go out and pick up the cups and the big chunky things, but we can run that lawn sweeper, tow it behind our little store rider, and we can pick up some trash along the side of the fence.
Oh, no.
You multi-uses there.
You don't have to do that. So you mow over the cups and everything, and then it breaks it down into smaller pieces. Then you just rake it up with you don't have to go pick that up.
Oh, I see what you're saying there. Mulch it and then sweep it.
Mulch it, then sweep it. You're fine. Just as long as it's not the hard stuff. But yeah, it works.
Smart man.
Speaking of mowers, the other side, a lot of people, you mentioned smaller yards and smaller lawns where some of that doesn't, maybe you don't have the tow behind opportunity because your yard's too small, or you just got some little patches because of landscaping that you got to clean up. And, you've got both the bagged and the unbagged high-wheeled lawnmower without the bag right now on sale. $219.99 for a push mower, $259 for a 21-inch with the bagger attachment, self-propelled. I mean, so $219, $259, and $279 for a self-propelled mower. Those are great deals if you got just a little smaller area.
Yeah, Pulsar was a value brand we brought in last year. We always carry we carry good brands, right? We got the better and best of a lot of our brands. We've never offered a good lower price range option really in the past. So we've been flirting with that over the last 4 years. And last year we introduced Pulsar into our assortment as a good lawnmower at a lower good price. And we seem to do good with it last year. We had some good feedback. Obviously, if you're going to go from a Husqvarna, Aaron's, Milwaukee steel lawnmower and you're going to drop down to a Pulsar, you might have some complaints about the feel and how it runs. But if you're just coming to pick one up and you don't know the difference, this is still a good mower for, if you have a smaller yard and you don't want to go spend $1,000 on a lawnmower. This is a great option at a great price. To get you in the door to start doing some mowing of your own.
My nephew a couple of years ago was looking at starting a lawn business in the summer. Just a high school kid, wanted to make a little extra money and really got into it. And that was one of the things he ran into was the good, reliable push mower, trying to find one that was affordable. And he was a little before his time, because now you've got this great line that checks all those boxes that wasn't available a few years ago.
Yep, you can run it hard. You can run it all year. It's got the warranty. So, if you're going to push it and use it, they're going to stand behind it. And, we do too. If you have any problems in the first 60 days, we're kind of your first stop before you go dealing with the company themselves. We try to be your first line of defense. So if it's initial right out of the box problem, it's going to come back to the store and let us take care of you.
So running it all year, if I got the bagger one, then I could bag my snow and just dump it over. That might work.
That'd be wishful. That'd be some wishful thinking right there. I'm not sure that would work. That would work so hot.
You got to start thinking about the other accessories as well, because you've got a lot of Husqvarna on sale right now, and the Husqvarna powered gas blower. Speaking of blowing snow, because those little light snow falls that, okay, it's too much work with the shovel, it's not enough work for my snow blower. Quite often, if it's the dry stuff, you can use a good blower if you got a good, powerful blower, and you've got the Husqvarna gas-powered blower vac on sale right now. And when we start talking about lawns and making sure everything's cleaned up and nice, the straight gas-powered trimmer on sale. So you've got a great lineup of Husqvarna and the Pulsar, everything everybody needs for getting their lawn in shape this spring.
Yeah, and we're also running the Milwaukee sale still. So that will run through the end of April.
Wow.
Oh, man. My months are getting up. I believe it runs all of March and all of April. So you even have the Milwaukee battery-powered ones sitting in there that are still running at a great price because we have the big Milwaukee sale going on. And the Milwaukee lawnmower, if you have a bunch of the batteries and you're ready to go, we carry the lawnmower now. Someone asked for that last year and ordered it from our vendor, and it's something we put into our assortment this year. So now we have the battery-operated Milwaukee lawnmower as well.
Little something for everybody at Runnings, and you can stop by the Bismarck Runnings, 701 South Washington. You can stop by Dickinson or Mandan or Hettinger. Or,
you know what, Steve, I got to interrupt you. That 42-inch AgriFab lawn sweeper that we have in our ad,
yeah,
I was like, I remember loading 2 of those out. That's a grand opening special at $220.
Ooh.
That's another $50 off.
Whoa. Because our flyer, it says $279.99, but
yeah,
take another.
It's 3-something regularly. It's 300-something regularly.
Wow.
And, yeah. So there we go.
Another grand opening. See, we got actually maybe sending you out to these grand openings is a good thing.
Just bringing the deals back.
Brad Ock, General Manager at Running 701 South Washington. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Talk 1270.
Welcome back to Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Super Talk 1270. I'm Steve Bike along with Brad Ogg, General Manager at Running 701 South Washington in Bismarck, the cool running store. Not that they're not all cool, but we've got the coolest one. And, we're talking a lot about the spring stuff. In this flyer, a lot of pets as usual, a lot of clothing items as usual, no matter what brand. If you're looking for work clothes, if you're looking for casual clothes, if you're working for that good pair of Sunday morning jeans, you need those. Runnings has got it all, as well as the footwear, farm supplies, all of it. I want to transition a little bit into one other thing with spring. Of course, that Summit tractor that you guys have. If you got a little farm or a little homestead, maybe a 5 or a 10 acre, you need a little bit more oomph. Maybe you got a little hobby farm with horses. Great piece of equipment at an affordable price and sturdy, for snow removal, grading out roads, all kinds of stuff. Picking up bales. You can do it all with that thing.
Yeah, and Dickinson just sold another one here this past. What day did they sell that? Friday or Saturday this past week? They just sold another one, and we've had some big interest in Bismarck. People just haven't pulled the trigger because they want that cab, right? All winter long, like, oh, gosh, there's no cab on it. And like, yeah, but the price point is pretty awesome when you really sit down and compare apples to apples there.
You can build a cab.
Bundle up a little bit in the winter, but you can get a lot of work done in the summertime with this thing. And I know the Rapid City store has sold, I think, 5 or 6 now. We had one of our customers who comes in regularly. He bought one from Rapid City because that's where he has a little hobby farm at. We're like, you're killing me. But, he said he hit a rock out of his place, and he bent up the bottom of the tractor a piece the way he hit this rock. And he had called and said, hey, this is what I did. And it was covered under the warranty, apparently, and they sent him the part. And when he got the part 2 days later, they had asked, do you want us to call you and walk you through the replacement, or are you comfortable doing this? It's identified as a self-repair, so it's still under warranty. If you're comfortable doing it, do it. If you want someone to get on a live chat with you, we'll be there live and walk you through it. Just let us know what you need.
Wow,
and I just thought it was the coolest thing. Because we actually finally got to see the live repair option utilized from one of our stores, where they truly say they'll just send you the part and you can change it out yourself.
That is customer service. And, quite often I'll go to fix something and I'll pull up a YouTube video and DIY it myself. And I'll spend 20 minutes trying to find the right video to do the right replacement or fix the right part that I have to repair. And wow, you just call them up and, hey, we're on you. We'll walk you right through this. It's kind of like having your own YouTube channel right in your back pocket.
Yeah, he thought this was going to be on him, and it ended up not being on him. Wow. It was actually a covered warranty repair because that piece should not have done that. So they sent him a new one and walked him through it. So that was really neat to see their customer service actually step up the way they told us they would.
You know, we just had a big bike show this weekend with the Freedom Riders. Of course, bike show is one of the many organizations and events that running supports within the community. You get a lot of those, whether it's furry friends or different animal causes. Runnings is there. I mean, they're part of the community.
Yeah, you know, the bike show was cool. So we've always done Tim has always been a really big supporter of runnings. And so in return, you know, we try to represent and support, you know, where he's passionate, where he's at. But the Freedom Riders have always been a part of runnings. And it was really cool to see the show this past weekend from a vendor perspective. We've never participated in the show. So we were there with gun specials. We had a special locked case this year that we brought over to the bike show. So we were able to set up and be part of the event. And we got set up right beside Harley Davidson. And we had a couple of guys there just hanging out, talking to people on Saturday. It's just a really neat event.
Yeah, I was visiting with the crew when I was there this weekend, and great event, helping out a lot of great. They gave away so many bikes for kids. One of the big things the Freedom Riders do as well. So just great event. And, you know, we've got another great event that you're a big part of coming up right around the corner, and that's the Dakota Garden Expo, Friday and Saturday, April 19th and 20th. On Friday, it's 3 until 8 p.m., Saturday, 9 a.m. until 4 p.m., so all day Saturday. And you're rolling out a big booth space. You got a lot of stuff. You got the greenhouse coming. You've got the extra plants for the Dakota Garden Expo. All kinds of cool stuff over in the exhibit hall in the Bismarck Event Center. Oh, by the way, thank you to Beck Television. Admission is free because of Beck. They're offsetting the cost. So if you're looking for your spring plants, if you're looking for something a little special to help out with the landscaping, the gardening. So what do you got in store for us, Brad? Because you always bring something a little cool.
I also want to take a second to Beck sponsoring the free admission. That is a huge. That's a big sponsorship as well. It's really important because it brings in another group of people who normally probably would not have come in because they don't want to pay that $5 to come through the door for a family of 6. You know, so I think from runnings, I do want to say that's a big sponsorship, and it's big for us because it brings a lot of extra people in. So I have to make sure I give that extra shout out to Beck on that because that's a really cool, unique way to be part of an event.
Well, it helps the customers and it helps it helps the customers and it helps the vendors. So you know, great place to really pitch in.
And then, so I just had the conference call on Friday from Illinois with Roger, who is the big guy at the greenhouse, Dan and Jerry's, and we were starting to talk a little bit more about what's going on. So he was telling me, he's like, you know, last year we learned a few things. We're going to do less vegetables. We're going to do less herbs. We're probably going to do 4 feet of that so customers know, hey, we have vegetables, we have herbs, we have what you know you're going to need for your garden.
But get there early.
So nobody wants them right now, right? They're like, well, they don't want to buy them on the 19th and 20th of April. They want to buy them in May. So they planted a few extra flowers. You know, he said he's hoping some of the tropical stuff is ready to come up for the show. What's really cool about Dan and Jerry's, and you can follow them on Instagram because they do a really good job posting videos from the plant and from the greenhouse that they're growing and packing and doing things, is their greenhouse is huge. I mean, I bet it's like 20 big greenhouse fixtures in just one of the locations. I think they have multiple greenhouse locations that they ship from, but they only send what's prime and in the moment. So if it's early, they're not going to send it. If it's past due, they're not going to send it. They will send what's ready. And I think that is like key to our success with Dan and Jerry's is how how much they pay attention to detail on when the plants are ready to ship out to the stores. And they care about that. He cares about his image and what people think of it when they walk through the greenhouse and see a plant. And he always tells us, if you would not buy that plant and give it to your mother, I don't want that plant on the rack. He tells us that all the time. But yes, and we have not decided on the store side yet. I was able to work with the lawn and garden buyer on Thursday. We went over to Streeter, Illinois in the afternoon to help with some freight, and the lawn and garden buyer was there. And I asked him, I'm like, you got a deal for me yet for lawn and garden show? He's like, the garden expo? No, I don't have a deal yet. I'm like, oh, you better find me something big. People, after that big old lawn and garden patio set last year, and then that blowout griddle for like $200, people are going to be waiting to see what you come up with this year. He's like, oh, we'll get there. We'll see what we got.
That was a heck of a deal, by the way, that griddle. That was cool. Oh. So,
yeah, I have the griddle. It's in my
Home and Garden Expo, or Dakota Garden Expo coming up April 19th and 20th. Running's a big part of that, so thank you for being part of that as well. If somebody wants to get a hold of you because they've got an event or some things they need a little help with, how do they do that, Brad?
You can swing into the store and you can ask for Bradley. You can leave a flyer behind. You can go on to runnings.com and you can go into, I don't know if it's, I think it might be customer service. Yeah, we do this every time. I really need to just get my butt online and find the actual way to do this. But there is a community involvement piece online where you can ask, for donations that might be beyond what I can do. Yes, it's under customer service, community support. And you can submit a request on there as well, and they'll kick it over to me if you don't want to come in and see me. But I always prefer you come in and see me.
All right, sounds good. Brad Ock over at Runnings, General Manager, 701 South Washington. This is Talk of the Town on Super Talk 1270.
Talk of the Town, weekday mornings starting at 9 on Super Talk 1270 and the free Super Talk 1270 mobile app.
KLXX Mandan, Bismarck, a Town Square media station, broadcasting from the View Community Credit Union Studio.